So I had a very interesting conversation with my friend about chemistry the other day, and I wanted to share it with you because it is a very good metaphor for figuring out what's right for you in this life, especially when it comes to relationships. So let me just get into what we talked about. I have my notes on my computers, so if I'm looking up, that's why. So what we talked about is what happens when you mix water and ethanol. If you mix 50 milliliters of water and 50 milliliters of ethanol, alcohol, what volume do you think is going to be when you mix the two together? 50 plus 50 equals 100, right? When you mix the two together, it equals about like 97, 98 milliliters due to something called volume contraction, which is basically when there are two things happening: molecular packing and hydrogen bonding. Molecular packing is when the water and the ethanol come together and fit more efficiently together than when they're separate. And the ethanol molecules disrupt some of the hydrogen bonds in the water, allowing the two substances to pack more closely together and decrease the empty space between the molecules, resulting in a decrease in volume. And then also, once the molecules are more closely packed, new hydrogen bonds form between the ethanol and water molecules, pulling them closer together and reducing the space between them. Meaning that chemistry literally has phenomenons where molecules are better together than when apart. And him being very scientific and me being very philosophical, this conversation got very interesting in terms of how do you know you're doing the right thing? Or how do you know when things are meant for you? So let's get into it. So quite literally, water and ethanol have good chemistry. So what can we as human beings take as a lesson from the good chemistry between these molecules? Like, how can we translate that into our lives? To understand what good chemistry looks like, let's look at bad chemistry, which is going to be the reaction between water and potassium. Water and potassium, when they are mixed together, become highly reactive. When they come together, they react violently with each other, producing heat, which can result in fire and explosion. They produce potassium hydroxide, hydrogen gas. It's not a good reaction. Potassium metal has to be stored in a non-reactive substance like mineral oil, meaning that potassium and oil can mix and they'll be fine. But you get potassium and water together and they'll become extremely reactive and explosive. But then you get water and ethanol together and they bond. And also, there's heat given off within the reaction between water and ethanol, but the heat that's given off is not because it is reactive. The heat that's given off is because of the new hydrogen bonding that is forming between the molecules. The same heat that's given off during this violent reaction is the same heat that's given off when the two molecules are bonding together. Meaning that reaction and violence can feel like love and connection if you don't know the difference between the two. Meaning that love can feel like intense passion, it can feel like chaos, it can feel like craziness, and you think it's love. But really, it's just reaction. Love should feel calm. When you're doing what is right for you, it should feel calm. That to be with the right people is to feel calmness, safety, and stability. And I turned to him and I said, isn't it better to fall in love with the people that give you intense passion, or to be in friendships with people who take you on crazy adventures, or to choose careers or make decisions that make you feel all this crazy passion and emotion and intensity? And he said, Bailey, you are hardwired to crave that intensity and crave that chaos because you grew up in a highly reactive home. He said that I was wired for wanting that chaos of intensity, of extreme emotion, because I grew up in a household that was like this, where everyone around me was potassium and I was water. And so every time I would speak up, or every time I would express emotions, or I would express my needs, it felt like this. So this became commonplace. This became normal. This became what my norm was ups and downs and explosions and fire and ash and all this, right? So my body and my nervous system and my emotional regulation and my brain is used to this intensity, this chaos. Because another thing about me is when I finally got away from an environment that felt like this, that felt so chaotic and so out of control, I did everything in my power to maintain that chaos. I would smoke cigarettes. I would overexercise. I would eat very spicy food. I would undereat or I would overeat. I would undersleep or oversleep. I would keep my house messy so that I would wake up and I would just see chaos. I did everything in my power to maintain the chaos that I felt was normal and necessary. And he said, finding peace is going to feel like finding boredom. Because obviously, when you go from this to this, there's a lot less movement. There's so much less movement when you're bonded with the right people and the right things. And then it furthered my thinking to be like, every decision and every relationship I've ever had in my life had some element of reaction, of craziness, because I thought it was normal. You know, like the career that I chose was always centered around feeling intensity. Like ballet, it's a very intense thing. You have to feel intense emotions. Your body is intensely exhausted. And it's crazy. It's a crazy, crazy career. There's no calmness, there's no stability about it. And even in my friendships, I'd always choose the people that were very reactionary. Like they would always have some kind of drama, or they would always have some kind of something going on that they needed help with. They would always have problems they needed help solving. There was no element of calmness or peace. There was always something, right? And then I thought further and I was like, how many of my decisions in life are centered around this chaos? Most of them. I always go for the thing that makes me feel intense passion or intense emotion, because I think that's what life is about. Like I've been having a really hard time choosing a career or choosing what I want to do with my life because I don't feel intensely passionate about anything. I don't feel over the top emotion for anything. And I think that means I won't be happy in anything. But in truth, I need to find the career that makes me feel calm, that makes me feel peace, that makes me feel at ease. And that feels boring to me. I feel like I'm going to be bored, and I feel that I'm not going to have fun, and I feel like it's not going to be exciting. But truthfully, that boredom is peace. That boredom is safety. That boredom is stability, which is just something that I've never felt before. So obviously the lack of reaction and the connection and calm is going to feel so different for me. But also, I always feel feelings for and enter into relationships with and become friends with people who give me that element of instability. And up until this conversation I had with my friend, I didn't realize that I did that. I never go and have crushes on or develop feelings for or become friends with people who are emotionally healed, emotionally regulated, like have their shit together. Because even if home is a burning building, it's still home, so it feels familiar to you. So the second that you find someone who is chaotic or unstable or inconsistent, they're gonna feel like home, not because they're good for you and they're safe and you love them, but because they mimic what you've always known. Because that mimics what I grew up with. So it feels like love. I feel weird without the fire. I feel weird without the explosion. But I and you owe ourselves a life full of peace and happiness and ease. We deserve stability and safety and calmness. We deserve to find the people who feel like the ethanol to our water. We deserve people who help us grow as individuals together. The best and healthiest things for you are the things that make you feel calm. And that is a very good indicator that you are with the right people, you are at the right job, you are doing things that are good for you. I want to choose the thing that I feel overly passionate about, and I feel crazy for, and I feel intensity. That is a really, really dangerous way to live your life. because it's very difficult to feel intense emotions 24/7. Intensity is so exhausting, and intense passion is so exhausting. And I can't sustain it forever. You need to find the people and find the things which make you feel calm, which relax something in you and make you a better person when you're with it versus when you're apart from it. And that takes a long time to learn. And it's been a massive unlearning that passion and chaos should not be the constant in your life. The constant in your life should be peace and stability. And then when life throws something chaotic at you, you deal with it and then you return back to peace. Like peace and stability and safety should be the baseline emotion that you're feeling. And if you're not, it means there's something in your life that's making you incredibly reactive. The goal in life is not to feel intense happiness and intense passion and intense joy, because that's like mania, that's like craziness, that's literally on the opposite scale of depression. You know what I mean? To feel intense happiness and intense passion all the time is just as bad for you as intense sadness or intense anger. The goal in life is to feel calm. And chemistry teaches us that the same thing is truth, that the best connections create calmness, create relaxation, create heat not because of reaction, but because of connection. And chemistry also proves to us that when we are with the wrong people and the wrong things, we become so reactive that we light ourselves on fire trying to maintain it. So take from that what you will, but you deserve to find things in life that bring you peace, lasting peace. You deserve to find the things which you connect with so deeply that it relaxes something in you, that it makes you feel warmth from the inside out, that makes you feel like you can breathe finally. And I wish you all good luck finding those things in this life. I love you all.